These 4 heads are all taking part in the leadership programme for serving head teachers, the LPSH. The group first came together during a 3-day residential, and over the next few weeks we'll follow them as they probe and question each other about leadership.
My name's Sophie Parker. I'm the head teacher of Ashford Park Primary School.
I'm Sally Garrett, head teacher at the Seven Oaks Centre.
My name is James Stanford. I'm head teacher at Milton-on-Stour Primary School.
My name is Caroline Wilkins. I'm head teacher at Ramvilles Junior School.
This is class 4.
Through a series of school visits, we'll examine the issues that each head is grappling with and what they need to do to become better leaders.
My issue has been team building and reducing the amount of paperwork.
My main focus was looking at team commitment within the staff.
Making sure that there is clarity of vision.
And my biggest challenge is turning a good school into an outstanding one.
Ramvilles Junior School near Portsmouth is about to receive some special guests. Sally, James and Sophie are making their first visit to the school.
Hello. Hello. Good morning.
Morning.
Morning. Hello.
Morning.
Come on in.
Thank you.
The purpose of today's visit is to see how well Caroline is addressing her leadership issues.
It's a successful school. It needs to be better. I don't think we're not complacent in that. We want to be an excellent school. So it's about how do you get from good to excellent? How do you keep people moving on that continuum? I'm very driven. I know what I want, and I am determined to get it. And that can be a weakness as well. I'm very focused. I've got a lot of energy and I've got a lot of enthusiasm, and I mostly find that I am able to take people with me by sharing my thinking, by getting them involved, by listening to what they say and making sure their ideas are included.
Oh, stop there. Brilliant. Give yourself a clap. So what we have learned so far, where would face be?
As part of the LPSH programme, the staffs in all 4 schools were given a questionnaire about their heads' leadership styles. The feedback from this questionnaire has formed the basis for discussion within the group.
I remember on the questionnaire, you get all your ticks in boxes, your blobs in boxes, and on one side there was somebody whose blobs were not in line with all the others. And when I sat with my co-coaching group to go through that data, I said, look at this person, you know, this person doesn't agree with anything I'm doing. And I was quite anxious and worked out, who is this person, needed to know. And one of my groups said, what makes you think it's one person? Maybe in everything you do, there's someone who doesn't quite get it. And that really made me think, crumbs, have I left someone behind in everything?
It's such an interesting thing. Again, we debated this hotly at the
And it's made me very much more aware of getting people on board before we start something new. And actually the need to develop relationships with those people who maybe feel I don't understand them. Something we've struggled with. We started off with a life coach actually coming into the school, and she came in, did an inset day first of all, and tried to get people into the thinking of what is work-life balance.
This visit is Caroline's first opportunity to show her colleagues how she leads the school.
I've mainly used the coaching model of leadership to help me work alongside people, but not to do the work for them, to help them to see what they're doing and why they're doing it, and get them to be proactive.
Would that make sense? There's like potential.
Thanks for this tour this morning, really enjoyed it. Lots of lovely space and displays. When we went reflecting back on what we were talking about in October, you were working with all your staff around team building and improving relationships. What's worked and what have you done?
Well, there are 2 parts to the team building thing, really. The part of it was about me building relationships with the staff and getting to know some people better, and actually developing relationships between people and being more visible around the school. And the other part has been to do with the life coaching and the work-life balance and actually developing the relationships between people. Morning, Mrs. Hurst. How are you? Do you want to come on through? There's quite a few of us.
Thank you.
Thank you. I've tried to make more effort to get out into classrooms in the morning, go around and see the staff, be in classrooms and so on. But also get into the staff room at lunchtime and just sit with people that I wouldn't normally have a chance to sit with and catch up, and finding out what's going on in people's lives outside school as well.
Fantastic. What a great start.
It links that you talked before about trying to be outside when the parents and children were arriving, and if you had that same sort of feedback from the parents.
I'm not actually brilliant at getting out still first thing in the morning. That's something I thought would make a big difference, and I'm not brilliant at it because I actually want to get round to the classrooms and see the teachers and make sure that, you know, to do the thermometer check to make sure that everybody's okay for the day.
So you're investing more of your own time in going around the classes. Is there anything you're having to find other time to do in here?
Yes, the big pile of paperwork in the corner. I mean, that when I started this, well, we drew a shield, didn't we, of ourselves, and I drew a picture of myself stuck behind a desk with the door closed and this big mountain of paperwork, and I felt that I could never leave this door, even though the staff room was literally just outside, because I had all this work that I was responsible for doing and accountable for it all. And I think giving myself permission to get out of here and say, actually, I'm going to leave that now because the next 20 minutes or the next hour is going to be really important.
So taken it well, and you've enjoyed it.
Yeah, you talked earlier on about the pace, didn't you, and the pace of change. Is that something you would reflect on and think about?
Yes, definitely.
Next time.
I'm a very driven person myself, and so I make the assumption that everyone else is driven as well and will happily drive alongside me at quite a pace. And I think what I've recognised is that we have to work as a team and move at a team pace and take everybody with us. I'm actually a person who likes to be liked, and I hadn't realised that until we did this training, until we really sort of unpicked the iceberg issues. I didn't know that about myself and how important it was. But now I know that. Sometimes I have to say, right, Caroline, you're going to feel uncomfortable now, but you're going to do it. You know, a staff meeting that we had only yesterday, I went in and said, this is it, this is how it's got to be, which I didn't want to do, but I realised that I had to do it. And going around talking to people afterwards, how did that feel? You know, how did it help? And people were very positive. It was really good. I felt so much better after that. Some of the questions that I have been asked have really made me think, I'm not like that, am I like that? Did I really say that? Really, for a long time, threw me into a period of sort of seriously questioning the way I work, and it has changed the way I work and the way I think. What we've learnt the most has taken place with a door closed, where we've really opened up to each other. We set our ground rules first, you know, the honesty, the openness and so on, but it's been really important to be able to trust those people. And there's no point having a co-coaching group if you're all going to sit politely and skirt around the issues that are actually the ones that need tackling.
A few miles away, Sally's head teacher of the Sevenoaks Centre. It caters for children who are unable to attend mainstream education for medical reasons.
Sevenoaks Centre in Portsmouth works with children and young people through all the key stages. So we start with a reception child right through to some post-16 girls, in particular with our teenage parents. And the idea is to provide continuity and progression with their education whilst they are unable to attend their mainstream school.
Where could you use a GPS system?
At C.
At C, yeah, excellent.
So as far as possible, we would mimic what would be going on in mainstream education, but we also try and add in the extras where perhaps young people have missed things, or recognising that they do have some more social and emotional needs, so we will teach specifically in that area.
It's not as easy as that, though, is it? Just giving up on the old smoking. Are any of our people here who smoke happy to actually sort of share and say,
I gave up when I was pregnant. Yeah, I gave up when I was pregnant.
Since Sally started the LPSH programme, there have been a lot of changes in her professional role.
By the end of this academic year, the Sevenoaks Centre will be closed as it currently functions and then reopened under a federation or broader service, which means for all the leadership team, we will have the opportunity to reapply for other leadership jobs, and staff currently are going through a job matching process.
With the impending changes, Sally has found that clarity of vision has been essential, especially in light of the responses she has received from the staff questionnaire.
The range of staff's responses were quite broad in how they perceived me, and obviously not knowing who'd responded which way, it was hard to analyse further, but it has made me focus on making sure the whole team, working as a team, work well together, and I'm given some clarity about where we're going.
Teamwork is something that Sophie is also keen to improve. There are over 50 members of staff and some 400 children on roll at Ashford Park Primary School in Middlesex.
For me, I think I find the most challenging is dealing with the amount of paperwork and the demands on me personally. I have a very large staff and they all want a piece of me, and I obviously have to be able to give them that time, and also the children. We have a lot of children in school, to be able to give them the time that they need.
Today, the co-coaching group have come together for a first-time visit to the school. Sophie starts the day with a tour.
This is year 4. How many are in this classroom?
There are 30 in the classroom, including then obviously in the afternoons it goes up to 33 because the children from the Acorn Centre come through.
Sophie has found that the course has made her question her leadership style.
Coaching I've been very comfortable with, and I tend to use that quite a lot. After using LPSH, I recognised that I was very much using that in situations which weren't the best situations to be using it. For example, when confronting poor performance, I tended to lapse into using co-coaching because I was obviously comfortable with it, and then I didn't. I ended up rescuing and acting as the carer rather than providing the staff with the support to be able to move on.
Would you like to come and look at year 1 class now? Yeah, come this way.
One of the targets that Sophie has set herself is to move away from the confines of her office and out into the classroom.
It's gone well, but I've had my box under my desk, and any paperwork that isn't immediate I've managed to throw in the box and not dealt with, unless somebody's come back to me within 3 months. If they haven't, it's gone in the bin. And then I deliberately have been planning times in my diary where I come out to year groups, and I'll just come and sit in the class and work with the children.
So what have been the benefits?
I think the benefits really, one of the points of doing it was moving away from the bureaucracy, but also the sort of team building and staff feeling proud to be working here. So it's given me the opportunity to be able to feed back informally to staff on positive things I've seen going on. Absolutely, and with meaning, instead of having to sort of find a reason. The reasons have been there because I've been in there working in the classrooms with them.
With the questionnaire feedback, I was pleasantly and positively surprised around my leadership styles and how that matched with my colleagues who filled that in for me. There were a couple of areas that did surprise me, and one was about responsibility. Was I giving them too much responsibility and informing them on too much that was going on? And the other was around team commitment. And colleagues not feeling proud about working in school, and not sort of wanting to, obviously they didn't feel that I was demonstrating enough support for them as teams and pride within the school.
Okay, we've had a really lovely morning, beautiful displays around the classrooms, and the atmosphere of learning was fabulous, Sophie. Reflecting back on your sort of personal development needs, what have you learned?
I've learnt quite a deal about leadership styles. I'm more aware now of leadership styles I use, and the leadership styles I was obviously very comfortable with and stuck with, and didn't necessarily go out and use other styles. So rather than now just going out and doing things when new things crop up, I'm actually a bit more reflective about how I'm going to go about it. So I now recognise that sometimes I need to use the authoritative style more, and we've just had an Ofsted. We've got lots of things to do, and it's going to be necessary for me to use that leadership style more, and using sort of pace setting for the next sort of term.
You also have shared this information with your deputy,
yes.
And you explained to us as we were going around the classes that you're both going to engage in pace setting now. Why have you chosen that style?
Because we're likely to have an Ofsted in the next 3 years, so we've got 3 years, and you can't achieve a lot in 3 years, so we've got to get systems and a change sort of culture going on quite quickly, particularly for the next term, so that we can start making an impact on children's learning quickly.
So the paperwork, the box underneath the table, that really has had a big impact.
Yes, and I think I need to work even harder on them to get out and about even more, because there have been weeks when I haven't been as successful as other weeks, and I haven't managed to get out to classrooms because of meetings and, you know, paperwork at high times when things come through.
Do you feel successful? Do you
I feel as if I'm halfway there. I don't feel as if I'm 100% there. I still feel that I need to make more time to commit to going out and about. Hello, Leah. Can I come and join you? So what lesson are you doing? What topic are you doing? Rome and the Romans.
Have there been any staff that haven't responded well? Because it's quite invasive, isn't it, having a head teacher just strolling into the classroom?
No, not at all. Everybody's been very welcoming. And when I came back to share my golden moment, I shared it with all the staff and said this was one of my actions. I was going to be out and about in classrooms more, and it would be informal. It wasn't formal monitoring. And a couple of members of staff said, "Oh, brilliant! We're looking forward to that. It'd be nice to have you out and about more."
I think today's visit went really well. It was lovely to have them to come down to the school and to be able to talk about Ashford Park and share that with colleagues. And I think all of us are feeling now from the visits that we're beginning to understand a little bit more about each other's backgrounds in the schools, which is actually, I think, going to help strengthen our co-coaching group when we go forward to get more feedback. And, you know, the school climate's going to mean more to us because of having visited the different schools.
Good morning, everybody. Right, did you all have a good holiday then? Yes? Great, pleased to be back. That was a bit slower off the mark that time, never mind. Okay, are there any messages?
It's the first day back after the mid-term break for the children of Milton-on-Stour Primary School in Dorset. As well as welcoming the children, James is preparing for the arrival of his co-coaching group. This is their second visit to the school, and they have come back to see how well James is meeting his leadership objectives.
When the head teachers from my co-coaching group came in the beginning of the autumn term, the areas that they picked up were ones that I had been aware of, but actually had never given sufficient time to analyse myself. The questionnaires showed up that there was a lack of clarity in direction, that things would happen, but people perhaps didn't know why or what part that played in the way the school was moving forward.
In 2006, after a successful Ofsted inspection, James introduced a cross-curricular approach across all the year groups.
Where the children have just had to pass an initiation test to get into the classroom by learning a Roman password, which is entertaining, I think.
Sat in the corridor.
So this is year 5 and 6. Children here literally within the first 20 minutes of a new project. Whole area of cross-curricular learning has come about since we started the programme, and trying to build a bit more creativity into the work that the children are able to do. And this is now the 5th topic that the children have done, and have learned so much and are able to apply the skills that they learn in their English lessons into all the other areas. I started to look into ways in which we could adapt what we were teaching, still to cover obviously the national curriculum, but being able to make the learning opportunities much more relevant for the children, which is when the idea for a much more cross-curricular approach came in.
And how much support have you had to give to teachers in terms of non-contact time to allow them to generate this kind of topic?
We've had significant inset day time put aside for the development of the curriculum, and a number of staff meetings, and their PPA time, particularly in Key Stage 1, is very useful in that they can plan together. And it's been quite remarkable actually how creative they are becoming. The most recent changes have mainly happened with the existing teaching staff, and they've been hugely adaptable and very keen to work as a unit. This is class 3, where we've got children who are in years 3 and 4, and they're having a review of their last half-term's project, which was called BRRR, as you can see from the type on there, where they were looking at all the aspects of insulation, heat retention, evaporating, and working out how the climate change is going to affect them. So a real topical topic.
The other thing I wanted to ask you is, obviously you mentioned earlier this is your deputy head's project for her MPQH.
Yes.
And presumably she's doing that because she wants to be a head teacher, which is going to leave you in a situation where you've got to keep this going. How are you going to, how do you see that happening?
I think, yes, obviously NPQH is a great springboard into headship, and as a whole school project, this is ideal because it became her project, having already been something that we've been working on as a whole staff. At the moment, we are still embedding it as a system, and it's going to take some little while before everybody is entirely comfortable with planning their own topics from scratch. So just
working in a small school, I think probably I found distributed leadership quite difficult. And this has been great for me to be able to pass over some of the new ways of working for the staff. I think it's always been a wish of mine to help people move forward, and whether that's the children or staff, it's been very important for me to know that people feel that they've got ownership of the different initiatives that we've put in place.
One of the things you were looking at was clarity, wasn't it, to your leadership? So how have you managed to make sure that this whole project with the cross-curriculum has helped you to develop the clarity, and what's worked and what hasn't worked?
I think always staff will feel most comfortable with familiarity, and sometimes letting that familiar territory go can be quite unnerving. And so we've worked really hard and tried to make sure that everything is clear in the way that the project is moving forward.
And it genuinely is cross-curricular, isn't it? 'Cause that little girl that we saw this morning, when I said to her, so is this English or history that you're doing? And she said, I don't know, we're just learning.
Yes.
So, you know, that's learning at its best, isn't it?
If you were going to do a project like this again, because this is quite a huge project, isn't it, for a school, is there anything that you would, or from this point onwards, you would do to develop your learning further as a leader?
I think that it has taught me an awful lot about the way teachers are learners, and maybe I have made assumptions about teachers' learning styles that I need to take more care of in the future. But I think if I were to be introducing another project as so far away from what we've been doing in the past, I would want to make sure that everybody had more time before we actually started in order to clarify their views.
Linked to that, James, we talked again when we last visited about, and I think all of us reflected on this, it's quite hard sometimes to challenge underperformance. Has this helped you to do that? Very
much so. The way that the staff have been able to work has been much more of a way of self-supporting, which has really meant that in many ways underperformance hasn't been there. Because everybody has been trying extremely hard to take on board all the new initiatives that have developed from this.
The other head teachers come from very different schools from this one, and their input in the feedback of how far down the route towards improvement we've gone has been very encouraging. They have the ability and the honesty to ask challenging and probing questions, which has been excellent for me to become more reflective. And I think in headship there's little time necessarily for reflection, and having people who make you stop and think why you're doing things is invaluable.
As the final part of the LPSH programme, the group comes together one more time. Here they are presented with another set of data from their staff, outlining their progress since they began the course.
I feel quite empowered by the feedback that I've been given. Some of the things that I wanted to change have actually changed.
I'm going to carry on trying to improve the clarity, because obviously there is still in my data a discrepancy between the ideal and the actual.
It's quite powerful how when you use your different leadership styles for a short period of time, how things change while you're going through that period of developing one area.
I guess the real challenge for myself is that it is a completely new team I should be working with, so all the valuable work that's been done and the conversations with my current team of staff is going to change.
And after 5 days of learning about leadership and all the various school visits, what do they feel they have gained personally?
I think I've gained an understanding through the course of my behaviour traits, my natural leadership styles, ones that I use naturally, and leadership styles that I need to develop and use more frequently.
I've learned a lot more about myself and the areas that I needed to develop into becoming a more effective head, and I'm very pleased that the impact has been noticed by my colleagues in school.
It has been very much an opportunity for self-reflection and to understand myself more, which I've been able to achieve with the support of the colleagues through the co-coaching group.
I've learned about leadership styles and how they can be used to best effect and the different situations, and actually working with my co-coaching group has given me the opportunity to discuss those things in more detail. I feel much happier in my role as head as well.
We were talking to some of the others from the other co-coaching groups, and each time they arranged something, the head had cancelled it. And Anne was saying about if we vocalise it, we do it, and I think we've all done that. Yeah. Perhaps more so because the TV crew have been here, but we have done it.
Well, I never say anything. I never get a word in edgeways anyway, so...
That's the beauty of working with 3 women.
Well, I know. I think probably if I'd been left to my own devices, I would never have met up with myself, so...